The High Priestess, this is going to be major tarot descriptions. Restore all trait strategic benefits. The players do not gain extra longbow techniques for methodical, but they do perhaps gain rugged and that fury pip energetic. I had already restored them just a little while ago, so that's not going to be a big deal. And let me move into phase C. And a knight. We had a knight before, we have not. Now this is a positive knight because it's straight up. But let me go to my encounters here. Look at my knight NPCs, and it's going to be they can join the quest if they're enticed, and they can also be servitors and swords, but it's not inverted. I'm going to go down to the Knight of Swords here, and maybe I can improve my longbow here. The agent is freelance, often just fired into the underworld. This would be, from a dwarf king or a demon, but we're not in the underworld. Flip a clarifying card to get an idea of his traits and skills. That would be if I wanted to make it an individual. But instead what I'll do is I'll make it so that my men have improved their morale a little bit. This is very typical in Outlands. Early on, when the players don't have a whole lot of swaggering, you can set your encounters toward building swaggering. I'd like to get my men battle ready, and I'm going to try to train my men to make them battle ready. And how would I do that? Let me look at my skill set here, and I could teach some of them how to ride, and that definitely would be an advantage, at least improve their skills. So I'm going to put them up on my hefty mount, and I'm going to let them run a course here and see after they run these races if they can possibly become battle ready. And it's 2 dice for a 7. Here comes my roll. And if you hear me say that a lot, here comes my roll and the dice is. It's mostly for me to sync later as I'm making the videos, because I try to clean them up a great deal. A 7, I made the roll, so I picked up battle ready.
We stopped ashore for a day of sports. The horses needed a trot, and now was a proper time to teach others to ride. Some of the sailors had distinguished themselves and would be promoted to the warrior class. The gentlemen thrived, superb sailors. We could elevate Varangians who had less to do. The unworthy could expect demotion, but I had confidence all would thrive in their new roles. Hirth thought any switch premature. He remained moody. I pushed back on his counsel and company. He insisted we not trust these non-humans, insisting aloud we keep to my father's assignments. Nonsense. Halfdan was not here and not seeing what we had. If anything, it was the ambitions of mortal men that were suspect. Hirth became vocal in his disapproval, so I assigned him the third watch. He was sleeping when the festivities started. We continued the races all day and into the night, a fine test for novices, and the veterans did relish in superiority, sharing insights and battle tales. Uller won the harness contest, dragging the heaviest sled as 40 men hung attached, all of them laughing and caked in mud. My crew's confidence seemed restored.
And I've also improved my men. And because I improved my men, that could be desires fulfilled and power, and I'll check that. And we're still in phase C. We're trying to get to the climax, a 2. Now this is a knight followed by a 2. It's going to be a personal event. Let me look into the encounter book here, and let's see if we have personal events. And it is a personal event of a 2. Coins at sea. Yeah, we'll go at personal event, coins at sea. Let's just take a number of 14. So if we go up to 14 here, and we'll say, I see a man drawing a knife to start a mutiny. The player character is next to a bowman. Do I order him to fire or not? I'm closing my eyes here without reading it. So yes, I would order the man to fire. If ordered to fire, the servitor's drawstring will snap and take out an eye on the player character.
Anger is seen in the eyes. Even before the man drew his knife and started his lunge, I knew there was mutiny planned. I had seen some wander off, conspire during the previous day of games. Hirth was by my side, and his loyalty was also in question. He served my father Halfdan well enough, and once showed favor to me, but over the journey his fellowship waned and his thoughts became less known. Anger now in his eyes. Hirth, draw bow, down that man. I pointed as the rogue was about to kill Valentin, our steward. As an outside recruit, the son of the miller was likely one of my staunchest supporters. Hirth did as ordered, at least he seemed not among the deceivers, his mood merely the simmer of one stewing on an ill-thought retort. What was it I had said? I called him my elder brother. Maybe he felt that made him a rival. As Hirth pulled his bow, before the twang, the string snapped. The lashing cord connected on the lid of my eye. My shout of surprise drew the attention of the would-be attacker of Valentin. Our steward dropped prone as his assailant was tackled by my newly promoted warriors. The traitor would confess, reveal a small group who plotted. All would be chained to oars. No use wasting men who should suffer before sale to someone else. Let them fear work in a deep mine where souls never rest even after death. Conspiracy by hateful hail, feasting fodder for ravens, eye for an eye, for an eye, for an eye.
Wow. Well, that is interesting, and that is growth. How does that affect the play? It affects it mostly through the way I just would enter into play. There's no hard, fast rule that if you lose a finger, you lose an eye. Lost an eye to a snapped bow string of a minion. Wrong word. Of a henchman. Better. Save changes. And let me go into my character here. Have I checked growth yet? I have not. Got an ignoble from the counter. I lost an eye. May have known I was playing Kirk Douglas as my avatar. I've changed it to my avatar of a boat here. In the original Vikings movie, Kirk Douglas as well lost an eye when Tony Curtis threw the falcon into his face. Good movie. Very, very cheesy, gung-ho movie. They attacked the castle in the end. Totally unrealistic, but it's still great filmmaking. And here we go. I'm almost at the end. That was my personal event here. I hated that. What do I need to go up to level 2? All I need is heroics. All right, so I have to have some sort of battle that's better than the first heroics I had, which was against the ogre man. Ogre as in size, not ogre as in, although he did have walrus teeth. Here comes my next encounter, and the Fool. Major Tarot, the Fool. Digressions become harder until the deck reshuffles. Treat any character that's forced for any reason in digressions into taken before the captive of the rival. Well, that's terrible.
A scout brought back a warrant for me to read. So, I am declared a fell one. The total reward offered, a few castrate cows, not a bull, was a tad insulting. I read the poster aloud for the crew, made many laugh that we were so feared. We are blamed for torching that village. Yes, the peasants we helped, though they may not be responsible. A learned, literate man prepared this poster. There is no end to wolves. I did not directly name the Windcaller. The crew knew we faced magic curses, but I did not want to elevate our rival's importance by inferring Boris Alfred also wielded political clout.
Varangians expect to be unwelcome.
Now we assuredly were.
All right, would that be my heroics to continue this mission with that over my head? It's a stretch, but in some ways, we do allow things like that to occur. But now I want to make it do or die. I cannot leave this mission. I must finish it. I will play that as my heroics at level 1. I will go to level 2 and reset these. What happens when a character goes up a level? He picks up some skills. Skills and leveling. I am now an admired crewman, and I have 2 make rolls, and I picked up another skill. And every time I go up a level, I get a personal swaggering, and I'll take a ferocity. And I got another skill. And I probably should take something that's more functional. Do I want Steward? Nah. Do I want Rabble Rouser? It's not really my role. I'm more of a taunt. A gambler? Nah, it's not interesting to me. Develop me on courtly graces? No. I will take an engineer sapper. I've taken an interest in numbers here.
After the mutiny attempt, I spent more time among the Deshii. This increased the pensive nature of Hirth. I would leave him to his duty training the newly promoted warriors. Hirth was in the minority in his separation from the bear and bird of my crew. I saw those non-humans all as my companions. My respect paid a dividend. Among the Deshii was a builder, an expert. His diction was gruff, but easy of wisdom to absorb. The lesser monster was more comfortable speaking Greek, so that too I learned from our work. My accent in that language would always be unmistakable. After a few weeks of study, my understanding of mechanics and masonry grew. I also picked up some of the bear's inclination to punch, both to show respect and to punish unreasonable tempers. When I saw a rower slack, I was more inclined to knock them to the deck than scold them with bark.
And I now have 2 make rolls that I can use, and really nice. We go into next card flip. It is 8 in phase. Let me go to my encounter chart here and look up my 8. These represent opposition, but from that same opposition comes the knowledge that the mission's goal is close. In Phase C, which I am, treat this as a knave, but after the conflict is resolved, you treat it as a 10, which will move us past the event into the climax, which is excellent. But I got a knave result here, so I'm going to have some sort of battle. Now, what sort of battle do I want? Let's have a sea battle where I have to evade the ships of Cherson.
I saw the port of Cherson rise out of the Black Sea fog near the end of day. The sun was behind us, which was a blessing. Ahead, I could see the port disgorge 2 warships, biremes from a bygone era, but still useful for town defense. These undoubtedly meant to ram us, yet where we saw them clearly, they had to deal with the sun's glare.
The plan was set.
We needed to draw them out and use our advantage of sails to race round them, exhaust their rowers before returning to land.
Off to a wave rider's race.
So I'm going to go into my fundamentals here, and I'm going to go down to the battles, and I'm going to pick a sea battle. Is it ramming speed? No, I'm going to try to engage for victory. No, I'm going to try to do an outdistance retreat and obtain that result on these tables. Does it have Banes? It certainly does. So I will take a card to try to get away. I want something like this. Success in the group ship is safely away. And this could be a make roll time, although I need my make rolls. And here comes my card flip. I have flipped 5. And it's a straight up 5, which is nice. Summon a pod of sea creatures to help tug the vessel outside of ballista range. Boy, I spelled that sort of Roman. Success to safely escape, but fail and longboat loses 1 swaggering technique. If the loss removes the vessel's last technique, the group ship will be sunk. And I would go to digressions. I would go right to that digression where I would be taken right before the rival, right before Boris Alpha. And so difficulty 12, conjuration. Success to safely escape, wizardry conjuration, 12. I don't think I'm going to make that 12. Let me look at my character just so I can elaborate this while we're teaching as well as playing. Swaggering of L. Now, wizardly conjuration. Now, even if I had this biting blade as blade swaggering, it cannot cover swaggering that are more, how should we say, more magical, more sophisticated, more complicated, just a higher order of technique. So an L of pure could cover for biting, but biting can't cover for L, and it certainly can't cover for conjuration. Just because I have a biting blade does not mean I know wizardly conjuration. But I'm going to pick that up because I'm going to use a make roll. Now, instead of attempting the roll with actually rolling dice, I will go ahead and just get the result of success.
My eye followed a glint, a set of 3 lights that reminded me of eyes. As I turned my head to focus on the spots, the trio would shift just a bit to my right, to the starboard side of the boat. The setting sun was trickery, or did the windcaller have other games to play?
Trust yourself,
Afoti advised. Uller too seemed to stamp the deck and steal my attention away from the pursuing warships. Is there something you can do, Afoti? Why is Uller agitated?
I command not creatures of flesh.
Was my sword suggesting that I could? The enemy was gaining, and Hearth positioned the warriors to repel boarders. I knew the biremes had more rowers and stronger ones. We were about to have our hull cracked. Was the first Optio's plan to exchange our lost vessel for one captured new? My father's boat, my boat, was about to be rammed on 2 sides. I ignored this and focused on the 3 dots, which shifted out into the water. A dark shape surrounded them, rising from beneath. Behind me, the first arrows were exchanged. Varangian war cries, insults exchanged. I faced bow forward. Something was cresting from the sea, black and white, a whale. The windcaller's curse of the Salmo Labrax worked against him. The sea creatures collectively hate Boris Alfred as much as I did. Killer whales, a pod, surfaced before my longship. They, too, could not eat the unexpectedly bony fall feast. A bit of empathy goes far. We needed a tether. As I wondered how I might fashion one, a glowing set of cords and chains meshed about the whales and fastened to our forward dragon's head, forming a tow cable. My study with the Deshii let me analyze the stress points. I drew new cords into reality to buttress the whole. Extra whales were added to the team as the sea wolves surf-galloped in unison. With a few tugs leading to a strong lurch, march, we surged, rising in the water with less drag, leaving the enemy. The distance between us increased, and fatigue overtook his rowers. Ramming speed was not forever speed. My magic became apparent, and the rival shipped his oars to let us run. Cherson bound, we would dock just north of the main keep defenses and assemble on the city edge for our assault. We would hunt Boris Alfred and rendezvous with our vessel, leaving us and moving south. Begins the climactic conclusion. Weary warriors ashore. Ruin follows our revenge.
Now, I cannot take battle from that, all right? When you use a make roll, you cannot check battle, and Crafty Deeds is only from action off of Q&Ds. But this could be magic exposure, because I have picked up the ability to conjure. I have summoned sea creatures to help me. So I am not only a demigod, but I can also conjure a beast to help me. I'm becoming more and more magical, which is another aspect of Outlands. You're trying to find out what you are. Are you the dark one, the gray one? Are you a Zare protecting mankind? Are you just an emperor king eventually in the end? I have checked my ignoble and I'm off the table, and now I'm in the climax. All I can say is more later.